Hey there, this is the Beard Out Podcast where we talk about two of the greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al. And we're coming at you completely pre-recorded from a split-level cave 20 miles below the surface of the earth. And we are proud to be a member of the Odd Pods Media Network. So, let's just get on with this stupid show.
Hey, it's Dalton.
And Sam.
We want to tell you about our podcast called Big Ten Plus 4.
Are you a college football fan who doesn't want to always be talking about the SEC?
Are you a college basketball fan who's tired of hearing how the Big Ten doesn't win in the big dance?
Then we're the show for you. Check us out each week on the Odd Pods Media Network. We bring you college sports with a Big Ten flavor.
Big Ten Plus 4. College sports with Midwest perspective. Blue collar and blue blood.
Here's the song.
Well, hey, how are you doing? Have a seat. Have a drink. Boy, I can glad to see ya. What I can say? Where's Lala?
All right. This is a very special episode. And, they're all very special to me, though. I love hearing my niece Cecilia at the beginning of these kind of introduce the show. That just makes me so happy. But anyway, this is a very special episode of the Beard All Podcast, the podcast where we talk about two of the greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al. And like I said at the top, because this is a very special episode, my brother John is not here because he's not very special. And I have very special people on the show with me. And Jason, welcome. How are you?
It is the highlight of, I don't know if this is my week, month, year. It's a pretty big highlight to be on this show because these are two of my favorite things. Most people in my world know about the craft beer side, but I come from the world of college and Olympic level wrestling, and there's not a whole lot of Weird Al crossover there. So there's a lot of podcasting crossover, so I'm ready to geek out about all of those things.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So like I was talking to a couple people today. I was like, yeah, so I'm recording an episode of my show tonight. And they're like, oh, what podcast is he from? And I was like, well, he's into the wrestling thing. This is wrestling. And people are like, wait, he wants to be on a Weird Al podcast. And I was like, yes, people love Weird Al. So leave me alone.
Well, and the thing is with the wrestling thing, you also have to clarify that it's not the TV stuff. Granted, our stuff's on TV. It's not the stuff with the ropes and the sports entertainment. It is the Olympic and college style stuff. So, yeah, that is my world. I've been hosting podcasts since 2008. So the main show is Short Time on the Matt Talk Podcast Network at matttalkonline.com. But there has been over 40 shows on that network. So I've had my hands on and hosting, editing, producing over 3,000 shows since 2008 when I was handwriting my RSS feed and then not knowing what the heck was going on until like, wait, what? I didn't actually know it was a podcast until I saw the icon on the website. I'm like, wait, that's an iTunes logo. Wait, is this a podcast? Sweet. So that's how that first one started years ago. But yeah, I do a lot of public address announcing for those unfamiliar, because I'm pretty sure there's very few people that are from my world, unless I'm surprised. If you're listening to my show and you're hearing me for the first time, I want to know about this. I don't want you to find this because of me. If you found this beforehand, you're like, I heard you on that Weird Al show, not because you told me to go to it, because I already listened to it. I want to know where that Venn diagram is of our audiences. I'd be curious who that one person is.
I would be so curious about that too. And I mean, seriously, that's why I was like, well, the wrestling, and it's seriously because if I said any show that you were from, people that I am talking to in my world of things would have been like, wait, what? Like, it's not comedy, pop culture, music, or beer. And I'm like, nope.
No, I've wanted to do shows on all of those things, but usually I just kind of weave some of that stuff into wrestling during my intros before I usually have guests, because I have had pop culture related guests on, so people that have wrestling background. So probably the biggest one I've had recent memory. I guess actually it wasn't recent memory, but it was 7 years ago I had him on the show, but I will have him on here moment soon again, because he was recently inducted in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, is Mario Lopez, aka AC Slater. For those of you in our age demo, I think we're in that same era that growing up with Saved by the Bell was a thing. So
Yep.
Mario actually wrestled. He was at the Hall of Fame in Oklahoma a couple weeks ago. I had a chance to talk to him there, and we will that show will come out again. But Matthew Modine's been on the show because he played Swain in Vision Quest. For those of you 80s movie nerds, and I was actually in a movie called The Last Champion. So if you're stumbling across Amazon and you see what looks to be like a Hallmark movie starring the guy from Yellowstone, Cole Hauser, yeah, I'm in the end of that movie, actually playing the broadcaster for the main scene. So wrestling and the movies world does kind of cross over. I listen to a lot of the movie shows my friends have run. They've changed their show. It used to be the I Hate Critics podcast. Now it's Everybody Loves Critics. I've been listening to them for a while. And of course, I discovered your show through the Twitter sphere with Pixie, with the thing she was doing. And she's got a demo that I'd never listened to. I just happened to find it one day. I'm like, I don't know anything about that world, but this show is really flipping interesting. And then she tweeted at you, and I'm like, wait, there's a Weird Al podcast about craft beer? Sign me up. And I've been listening ever since.
Thanks. I mean, that means a lot. When my brother and I started this a little over 2 years ago, we were like, nobody's going to listen to this. But people do. People are like, man, I wish I came up with that idea. And so it makes me feel good.
Well, it's also like fanboy moments too, because I'm also into Untapped, like many beer nerds are. And I was in Budapest, Hungary, and I'm checking into this beer that a guy from he was like a CNN photographer there covering the Hungarian elections, and I was there announcing the European Championships. And we met at this bar that had 200 beers. It had about 20 on tap, but it had like 200 beers. Like trying to get me to drink this Belgian beer, because the Belgians love their beer, and it was a Trappist beer. And I'm sitting there like, what is this? And I checked in, and it said, one of your friends have drank this. I'm like, are you kidding? And I looked at it, and I'm like, and actually it was the Orville was the one that I didn't like so much. You check, like, I love this. Like, of all people, it's the Weird Al chick likes this beer. It was just like, again, Worlds Crossing is like, so there's the wrestling tie. I'm at a wrestling tournament in Budapest, checking in a beer that you've had before.
Yes,
so,
many times. I love Orville.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that one, but the other ones he served me up were pretty good. Or I think it was a Trappist number 12 was pretty good. And actually, I found that in one of my local bottle shops not that long afterwards. So
the St. Bernardus Abbott 12. Oh,
yeah,
so
whatever
good.
that is. I've got to look it up. My rate, I'm up over 1,000 and change on my Untapped. So I've got 8 of them that I logged in from Virginia Beach this weekend that I haven't actually logged in yet. So I don't want to look like a lush checking into 8 beers, because it was 2 flights, but hey. So, you got to pace yourself when you're in your 40s now. It's like, okay, whoa, JB's checking in 8 beers, big night for him. So, yeah.
Well, there is a way around that, because on Untapped, you can identify the serving style that you're having, and if you mark it as taster, people aren't going to.
I just put draft because it's always that. Because I look as a taster is like if you go to a place like I don't know if they have them down there, but like a Hop Cat, for example, was a place that has 100 and some beers on tap. I know there's one in Omaha, there's one in Minneapolis, there's a couple around the country, and they would give you an actual taster. It's just, here's a sip, try it. That's what I consider a taster.
That's fair.
Hey, you want to try it first? That's what I consider a taster. If it's a little poor, I'm giving it the full draft check-in.
Okay, no, I get that. I see. My dad always said that you have to give a beer at least 3 sips before you can count it as being tasted. So you're like developing your palate to it. So I don't get a taste from
too, 'cause I'll slam those things. That's the problem. I drink fast. It's not like I'm a chugger, but it's just I happen to drink fast because when I'm talking, I tend to drink a lot. And next thing you know, I'm like, I've had a 12 beer check-in night, and I'm like, wait, that's gonna hurt in the morning once I realize it. But yeah,
for sure. Well, speaking of which, I mean, I believe, as Weird Al once said,
I had to pop myself a beer.
And let's talk about the ones that we brought to the table today. Real quick, I'm just going to say I have a Victory Sour Monkey. It's a sour triple from.
Oh, I love the Sour Monkey.
Monkey.
I've actually got a story about the Sour Monkey, but go ahead. You continue your Downingtown check in there.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, it's super good. I'm from Pennsylvania originally, so anytime I get a good Pennsylvania beer, it always just makes me happy. I had at one point, not too long ago, this was the last of this particular purchase, but I had a 6-pack of the Golden Monkey, the Sour Monkey, and then the Victory, the Berry Monkey, which is a variation on all this too. And they were all very good and all 9.5%. So who's going to complain?
So I'm announcing the NCAA wrestling championships in Pittsburgh a couple years ago, 2019, and my co-announcer was he lives in Northern Virginia, and he likes in a little bit more accessible the victory beers there. And we were like, it was gonna be our last one because like, all right, I'll get this. I think he got the Golden Monkey, and then was like, all right, bar was closing, so he had to drink it pretty quickly. Well, then we went out and drank some more. And it ended up being a bit of he ends up like smashing his face, like trying to get a taco. Somebody like tripped and like he lost his balance. Next thing he did a face plant down. It was that sour monkey that did him in. But yeah, I'm a fan of the victory. I've had them a couple times. I actually lived in Lancaster for a couple years, so I've had my Pennsylvania roots. Matter of fact, brought this just because. You can't see it on the video. You can't see it on the podcast. Obviously, I have a Trogs bottle opener right here.
Yes, you do.
Because me and the Mad Elf, we have some stories from when I lived in Lancaster. Because I used to go to a bar, a little Irish pub called Brendy's down in Lancaster, right by Franklin and Marshall College. They got a keg of it every year. They're one of the places that actually had it on draft.
Nice.
And drinking a pitcher of that will really make it a real interesting night. So I've got a Mad Elf glass behind me. I've got a Trogs shirt, and then I've also got some stout stuff, and they are not in business anymore from what I hear. I got a tacker and a flag and some stuff from them. I actually had them on my key ring. Still, they were one of the first craft beers I had when I moved to Pennsylvania. And of course, I've got a lager tacker on the wall, and I'm calling it by its actual name. So those of you don't know, that's a Yingling tacker. But to my beer, by the way, as I get very talkative, I'm trying to go with the theme here. I've got a Veracruz Vienna lager from Udapils, which is brewed right here in the Twin Cities. And the reason I'm going with it is a Vienna lager, but it's got lime. So it's got that, it wants to do with that little Mexican theme. So because it's off the deep end, Taco Grande's on there. That is my little tie-in part one for our beverages this evening, because I got another one ready when I finish this one. And it's also out of my it's one of my patrons get is our 20-ounce draft glass with the Matt Talk logo and the domain name on the back, Matt Talk Online. The reason it's 20 ounces is, is when you get a pint glass and you pour one of these tall boys in it, and you got that the jiggle that's at the bottom, right? Well, get yourself a 20-ouncer, you pour it all the way in, and you got room for the head, none of that jiggle, and it's a beautiful, beautiful glass of beer.
Oh, see, that's like, now I'm
Pro
only,
tip.
that is a pro tip. And I'm going to figure that out one day, because I mean, I'm only 5'2". Like I'm a tiny lady. So, a regular pint glass in my hand looks like one thing. I can only imagine I'd look like a child, like grabbing like their parents' cup if I'm trying to use it. Oh, look how big this cup is. Oh, that's great. Well, let's jump into Off the Deep End. Let's jump off the deep end and do our ranking thing. So yes, for the listeners, just to recap on how we do these ranking episodes, we are working off of Jason's rankings on the tracks on this album. And we're going to go from his least favorite to most favorite. And we say least favorite because there are no bad Weird Al songs. There are just ones we don't like as much as the others. And as we go through his list, I will say where I have that particular song ranked, and we'll see how our opinions line up. And that's kind of why I went with the beer that I went with, because I will tell you what, sometimes Weird Al fans get a little sour when you don't agree with them on these things. Man, we had a moment with the Even Worse episode, and Russ, who was on the show with me, had Melanie ranked really low, and people went off on him about it, because people love their Melanie, and he was like, "It's just my opinion, man." And I'm like, "I know, don't worry about it."
I feel like they're not going to like my Airline Amy, and if that's going to be the case. But
no,
and also
this
album, and this is when we were chatting about me wanting to come on the show and why this is a huge album for me. This is actually I'm going to use monumental, and I'm not going to oversell it, but I am going to oversell it. No, I won't oversell it, because I'm actually underselling it. This was the summer I spent in Connecticut. So it was between my 7th and 8th grade year. So it was I call it my summer of music, because my cousin Christy had just graduated from high school, and she was was into music, going to the mall and stuff. And I'm there as I'm going into the 8th grade. I mean, I think everything we listened to when I grew up, I was in Newport News, Virginia, had just moved to this little town called Poquoson, which is kind of a little redneck town, not that far away from where I was living, but it was vastly different. Well, I remember walking into that middle school that first day, and everybody in Newport News was listening to Belle Biv DeVoe and Boyz II Men. I had the crisscross tape and all that stuff. Well, you go to move in there, and I'm seeing Metallica shirts. I'm like, what's that? What's Nirvana? I had no idea what like rock music was. So this summer was a big part of my discovery of music. And a lot of it obviously timed well with Nirvana and Pearl Jam, the grunge scene. Well timed in that was Off the Deep End, because I had exposure to Weird Al before this, but this was the first album I bought, first full tape album I bought. And part of it was because I bought the single first. And because it was back then, you could get three cassette singles for like $10 at the mall. So I'd always ride the bike up with my cousin and we would buy singles all the time. So this was really my summer of music. So this is where this album has a really, really big impact, not just on Weird Al, but as music as a whole, because Weird Al actually opened the door for me to like Nirvana versus the other way around. So I remember first time I heard Smells Like Nirvana, I hated it because it wasn't Smells Like Teen Spirit. So, or the other way around, excuse me. I didn't like Smells Like Teen Spirit. I liked the Weird Al version better. So this album plays a huge role in my Weird Al chronology. I mean, it was the first one I ever bought and the first one I memorized, and I was, wondering where the B-side was to Smells Like Nirvana. I was like, where? That's not on the tape. Anyway, that's how I preface Off the Deep End for people that want to know my Weird Al isms. My wife she heard that story too, and she's like, what? Thankfully, we were married after she'd already heard that. I took her to Weird Al. Actually, she took me to Weird Al on State Fair, Minnesota State Fair 2019. So it was the first time I'd ever saw him.
Oh, the Strings Attached tour with the orchestra.
Yes. I saw Harvey the Wonder Hamster live. It was everything I wanted it to be.
It'll change your life. It'll totally change your life.
It did. Changed hers too.
For the better, I hope.
For the better.
Yeah.
All right. So my question, I guess,
11.
Well, thing is, the question was my first question, was there 11 or was there 12? Because there's the question of Bite Me. Does that count as a track or not? Because I don't believe it was on the CD version. It was on the tape. I can't remember. I don't remember actually hearing it until I got older. I'm like, wait a minute, that's actually a track. And then I went to find it on the CD, and I don't think it was on the CD. I could be misremembering my chronology.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Whatever it counts as, it's not. It would be 12. So
right, so we're not counting it. There's 11 primary tracks, so we're going with the 11 primary tracks. But good call out, though. The Weird Al people would have picked up on that if we didn't mention it.
Yeah. So, and I wanted to be prepared because I feel like usually when I'm talking on a wrestling show, I come more prepared than some of the listeners and the guests do. This time I'm out of my element in a lot of ways with the listenership here. So I'm bowing to y'all's greatness here. So number 11, it is weird to start with a parody, but I was never really a fan of this group to begin with. And apparently neither were the world of music. So the Plumbing Song is probably my least favorite album on the track. Partially because I don't like I don't like, again, we got to watch our language here. I am not a fan as much of, this is going to be semantical hell.
You can say it. No, you can say it. I'm just I like to put
when you mash up two songs into one, I typically don't like those as much as just if you stick with the whole one. So like the whole, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Under the Bridge meets, Give It Away. Not one of my favorite Weird Al efforts because it mashes two songs up. You already know it's like, wait a minute, that's not the song. So that's one reason why the Plumbing Song is number 11 on my list. And I just didn't find Milli Vanilli that catchy to begin with anyway. So I wasn't going to be a huge fan of anything making fun of them. But having to replace our sump pump today, I may actually have had to. We did have to call a plumber, and yes, the song was going through my head today as our Ukrainian plumber was replacing the plunger on our sump pump or
my gosh
or whatever. So
you had to call the mensch with the monkey wrench. Yeah.
Yes.
Just so the people know, we are actually not all that far off on this. I have the Plumbing Song at number 10.
Okay, I'm actually going to write yours down so we can just make sure I'm in tune here.
Yeah.
So you have him at 10.
I have it at 10. Yeah. And for a lot of the same reasons you cited, the biggest fault of the Plumbing Song is that it is mashing up two Milli Vanilli songs together. It probably would have been stronger if it stuck with the one that was the bigger hit and just kind of stayed there. But I think, the catalyst for creating this song was probably the Blame It on the Drain. And then he had to kind of build something around it. But maybe that whole song wasn't I don't know how it happened, but yeah, I'm right with you there.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Now go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we don't have to belabor the ones that are super low on your list. We can truck through these.
I paid to speak for a living. I mean,
I know.
So, yeah, I was given a speech this weekend. Okay, 15 to 20 minutes. I looked down; it's 27 minutes after I got done with it. So,
Hey, you
I will
pulled a
not belabor
27
some of
on
these
the
points.
Weird Al podcast.
Yeah, well, we're already we're already gonna blow through that. Number 10 was Airline Amy. Part of that is from where I was at because I had never been on a plane before at that time. I spent that summer in Connecticut, but we drove. And now being a platinum member on Delta and having flown to 27 countries 40 different times, I get it. But at the time, I'm going that basically a lot of this is going on where I remember about it at the time and my favorites at the time. And there isn't a whole lot of difference because I still think I stay pretty set there. But I went back and listened to it on a drive the other day going through the album. And it still wasn't, it was like, you almost want to hit skip just because it's not what I'm going to spend a whole lot of time on.
And that's totally fair. This is we're going to have a major disparity on this because I have Airline Amy at number 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And for me, it's because it's catchy. And I have a feeling with the listenership here, we may have another Melanie moment happening with Airline Amy, but we shall see. I don't know if
that beforehand. They should have been prepared. Yeah,
should be prepared. I don't know if Airline Amy has as much universal love for it as Melanie does, but I guess we'll see. No, I like Airline Amy a lot because I think it's just a fun, cute, catchy original song. It's fun to see him do live on the unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent ill-advised vanity tour. And
I have tickets in July, end of July.
Excellent.
I'll be going. Finally,
Well,
very last row. I mean, I barely got into the place.
Doesn't matter. You're going to be in the room. You're going to see the thing. It's going to be great. And yeah, Airline Amy, it's fun. And I feel like these little Poppy Al originals kind of give me the reason I like them is I feel like they give me a glimpse into like what Al would do if he wasn't trying to do something else. And I get that Airline Amy is kind of, in the style of stuff that was going on, but it feels very Al. It feels original to him, and I think that's why I like it so much.
And normally I really love the originals. Like if we go through the other, and I'm going to say tapes because I had them as tapes. The originals are things I would quote around to my friends, and they would be like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah. So I am definitely a fan of the originals. Although looking at my rankings here for this particular album, this may not be a good indication of that statement. But moving to number 9, Trigger Happy. To that point, my cousin loved this song. Now, my other cousin, my younger cousin, who was in 5th grade at the time, would sing this all along and just miss sing the lyrics the whole time. So he kind of ruined it for me. Just like, I know it is kind of catchy and trigger happy. Yes, okay, I get it. Just again, I think my cousin ruined that one for me. And with our current climate today, I don't know if this song plays nearly as much as it would back in 1991, 92. So
yeah,
this again, not one out. This one, I don't want to say it's insta skip because nothing is insta skip with Al, but it's like after coming off Smells Like Nirvana into the great stuff on this album, this is one I typically will kind of pass on.
And I get that. I have Trigger Happy at number 8, so we're not too far off on that one. I will give it the fact that it's a real spot on, early Beach Boys style parody, and he does that very well in this. And you have the shoot to kill now, which is just really, really funny. But yeah, this is not one. I think, when I heard it initially, I was too young to really get the joke, and I just didn't care so much for the music of it. And a lot of like how we feel about Weird Al songs comes from exactly where you're coming from, right? Because you're saying, well, I love Al originals, but my rankings of this album are not an indication of that. And it's because it's coming from a place of nostalgia for you. And I mean, Al's name is right in the middle of nostalgia, and that's what it is. And, so we experience Weird Al as adults through the lens of our childhood and adolescence. So
yeah, because I was 12 turning 13 this summer. So this is the summer I became a teenager, 1992. So moving on, number 8, I got to preface this one too. This one I feel like may catch a little blowback is because I felt like there were two songs similar in their I guess message. in terms of just absolute hatred. So I Was Only Kidding is my number 8 on this one, because I felt like I liked another song with a, very angry tone to it better. And I felt like there were 2 of them on the album. I mean, again, I love the song, but again, compared to the rest of them, if this was on another album, it would be much, much higher in my opinion. But I just loved Off the Deep End so much with a lot of the parodies so much that it really did. I mean, it's not like everything from here on out I freaking love. So it's I was going back looking at it going, how is this my 8th favorite on the album when, I mean, that's a hard pill for me to swallow looking back at it going, I like everything. And
right.
I mean, this could have just as easily been number 3 to me sometimes. Depends on, when I sat down. But I think this one probably is probably at that range where I think the difference maker here, like this is more of in hindsight than it is nostalgia. It's like, well, I liked a song that also had some funny hatred stuff in there a little bit better than this one.
Yeah, I get you on that. I Was Only Kidding at number 6. So again, not too far off on that. A lot of these middle ground ones,
off with the exception of Airline Amy, so not terrible.
Yeah, and I Was Only Kidding. The day I closed on my house, like I couldn't move right into it just yet. So I was staying at my good friend Trisha's house, and it was near April Fool's Day. Yeah, it was like the day before April Fool's Day. And that's when our episode about I Was Only Kidding was going to come out. And so Trish was like, I had never heard that song. So I played I Was Only Kidding for her. And I got to watch her face as she got the joke when the joke happened. Because you have when I said that I would faithful, when I promised I'd be true. And then I was only kidding. And I saw her go, oh my God. I saw her get the joke. And it reminded me of what it was like to hear a Weird Al song like this with such a strong punchline for the first time. And so it even though it's number 6, it's like right in the middle of this album for me. It holds a special place in my heart because it was like one of those, I remember what it was like to be new to Weird Al and to, have to get the joke, not to know the joke beforehand. Such a fun
number 7,
song.
I go with When I Was Your Age. Again, another same type of situation where I love the song. This is one of my favorite albums, really, of any genre, not just of Weird Al albums, of any album, CD, tape I owned. And again, everybody gets the joke because everybody's heard it. Everybody's heard it. So I think it definitely resonates with everybody. And just some of the stuff he comes up with is absolutely brilliant, as all of us know. But I think When I Was Your, just pretty much it sums up what the song is, and it's what you would expect if you're like, When I Was Your Age. Yeah, grandpa, grandma. I do that now with my kids.
End. Right, that's what I was going to say. This is never going to end. It's like, we didn't have Nintendo. We just poured salt on snails. It's like, okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. But,
I didn't get Nintendo until like after, actually it was, I think after the 5th. Actually, my cousins that summer in Connecticut, one had a Nintendo and one didn't, and the other one, the younger one wasn't allowed. The older one wasn't allowed to play with the younger ones because it was just some. So I was there when Kevin is actually digging up frogs, and then we're trying to play Dr. Mario. So that actually resounds pretty well to this time frame. And then When I Was Your Age, it's like I sit there and I think about it because my kids have tablets and stuff. And I was like, man, I had an Atari 2600 until middle school. Like everybody else had Super Nintendo by then. I was still playing Frogger.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I mean, to keep our pattern going, I have When I Was Your Age at number 5. Yeah, I like it because this is the kind of, again, the kind of idea that is going to keep happening. It's such a true generational thing that occurs. One generation thinks they have it harder than the generation that came after them for these, various reasons. And it's just a commentary that's never going to die because, different experiences aren't always going to understand the other one. No, I'm sure, there are kids that have things that, to them are perceived as just as difficult, as stuff. And so, yeah, When I Was Your Age, it's great. It's great. And it's Al at his absurd best.
It is it's definitely one of my favorite. It's the quotables where you can throw things out there and be like, what? And, it'd be just absurd enough to be like, yeah, I can probably hear somebody actually saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6 is I think for some people it may be pretty high, but again, as I preface this by saying the summer of music, Polka Your Eyes Out. So I go this one because it had all those songs of that era where I was learning music. So every mixtape that I brought back to Virginia, these songs were on it. So I'm hearing all these songs and then in the Polka Weird Al version. So all of this just kind of checks that box of that discovery, that summer discovery of music and all the catchy songs that with it. And then, and the yodeling and it was I don't think any polka to me has ever matched up as much as this one did, because again, that summer, the discovery of those music and then hearing all those songs on the radio constantly and then breaking into the polka version by myself when I hear them come on the radio, just kind of, it's one of those things like this is to me the Weird Al polka of my, timeline.
Absolutely. This is the Weird Al polka that I do at karaoke. And the response that this gets from people is hilarious because it starts with the riff from Rock the Cradle of Love, Billy Idol. And so people think, at the outset that that's what I'm going to sing at karaoke. But then no, it turns into a polka. Hey, Rock the Cradle of Love. And it's wonderful. And again, to keep with our pattern, I have Polka Your Eyes Out at number 4.
So what I have to do here too is I have to get to my next beer because it's key to the next 5 songs. So I've been doing pretty good on this one. So what we'll have to do is I will have to because again I really got to get you these 20 ounces. These are with imagine the Beard Al on the front of this glass. That would be sharp. I'm trying to
that would be sharp
right now.
Yeah, that would. I need to get more pint glasses because I've got people that want pint glasses, and if I can, as a beer podcast, offer up a 20-ounce pint glass to the people.
And then, I don't know if you're into plugs, but, Sticker Mule is a big friend of the podcasting world, right? Well, they're also a big friend of wrestling world. Whenever you see these coasters, the beer coasters, the cardboard coasters go on sale. That's a great thing to have. So I usually have those in the bag to hand them out and at the bar. Because if, again, your viewers can't see this, but I actually have built a speakeasy in my house. This is a hidden room that is my studio, but in it is a bar. So I've got 2 daughters, a wife, and a 1-year-old dog named Hazel. So everything in this house is female but me. So this is a true cave of men stuff. It's got wrestling stuff, my baseball cards, my draft paddles for the flight boards, the bar that I made myself with my old credentials and glasses and stuff. So it is geared for drinking and sports and Weird Al. So as I actually, you should be filling the time while I drink this beer and get the beer number 2 for the show.
Yeah, I absolutely will do that. And, it's funny. I just put it in order with Sticker Mule today, so I like them. So they can plug them away. Oh, yeah. So while he goes to refill, because we are at the halfway point of this album, and, since we did just talk about Polka Your Eyes Out, I have to say, he came back with his beer. Word to your mother! Yeah, that's one of my new sound bites is Word to Your Mother.
I love because you've got the new toy to use.
I most certainly do.
I can only imagine what that's going to bring to this show because I'm sitting there looking at it, and we can get break to some podcast nerdery here. Rodecaster Pro 2. I'm like, I don't need it, but man, I really want that thing because I could put that at the bar behind me and have that is a second setup. That's got cameras. That's got mics. The mics are lined through the wall into my mixer over here. So I got a nice PreSonus Studio 192 that it's way bigger than what I need it for, but I was like, man, that Rodecaster Pro, I could really,
It's wildly fun. It's wildly fun. I'm going to do one thing for you simply because it absolutely cracks me up. I can make my own voice at the touch of a button at my own will.
Sound like this?
Or like this.
Or a robot.
And it's just like, what? I did that on our alternative polka episode a little while ago. I did the whole thing. I did Domo
arigato, Mr. Roboto. Domo.
I just went off on it. So yeah, anyway, I got to play around with these things, but I need to also restrain myself because I will overuse this stuff.
Me and my friend Richard, we're going to do a show. We were going to do a pop culture beer show. We were going to talk about Game of Thrones, craft beer, and it basically, I ended up using every soundbite for the show that we had made with probably within the first 5 minutes. Like, and it was like, which I just ruined the show never got released. The episode never got released. The whole show never got released. We did one episode and never recorded again. I think I ruined it. Yeah. So I like a lot of podcasts actually on certain platforms that actually do record those and put them out and never do them again. We at least didn't clutter up the Twitter space or the internet space with that.
With that, yeah. And so, again, this is very much an exercise in self-restraint, especially when I have, guests on the show. I'm like, I can't keep pushing these buttons. When it's me and my brother, I'll be like, hey, check out this button, check out this button. But I feel like people like us being ridiculous siblings together. So I'm like, you know what? That's when I can let that freak flag really fly. But the very special episodes, I'm slightly more restrained and respectful, but still goofy.
I'm here for all of that. All of that. Now, one thing about the Domo Arigato, just have to a little side note, because for those, I mentioned the wrestling thing. Well, I'm also, when I do the PA announcing the last two Olympic cycles, I was the English voice of the Olympics. So I'm walking through Tokyo and it's, arigato, whatever. So I have Mr. Roboto stuck in my head the entire time because I'm saying arigato, domo arigato, like, just being polite. And then I just like, domo. And I don't even like sticks much. And so it's like, but it's stuck in my head. I'm just, why am I going domo? And I couldn't stop it. So it's, Rio was a different story. I didn't have the samba or whatever, the salsa dancing in my head down there. No, I just, I had nothing stuck in my head about Rio, but
her name is Rio and she dances on the sand.
Yeah. I actually listened to the Goldfinger version of that before we started today, actually. So.
Cool.
All right, so getting into the top 5, the reason I had to stop is I brought something back. My family and I just got back from a trip from New York City in which we saw Lion King on Broadway for the girls. We were supposed to do that, but COVID. So I brought back one of my favorite beers that you're not going to get out here in the Midwest. But I figured it out probably about an hour before the show. I was trying to figure out the second beer I needed to stick with the theme because I was going with the Taco Grande theme with the Veracruz beer that I had earlier. But I'm bringing out the Allagash White.
Shut up! Okay, time out. For Father's Day last year, I got my brother an art print from Pints and Panels of the Allagash White because he loves it.
It is an amazing beer. It is hard I think I've only had it 3 times. Once in Savannah, Georgia on my 5th anniversary, and then I had it in a speakeasy in New York City for the first time, probably a year or so after that. And then I was in New York City and this was across the street and they had a 4-pack of cans. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get that for the hotel room. And I was debating whether or not to bring the remaining 2 cans back with me. So I put them in a Ziploc or tied them off into a bag, packed them into the luggage and brought them with me. So I am glad Allagash White checks the boxes here because it is one of my favorite beers in this style. It's super good, super tasty. And it's, again, you can't get it in the Midwest. Now in Minnesota, we have 200 plus breweries in this state. It is an amazing place. And they just dropped their growler cap. So you can actually take beers out of those big 5 breweries that were fighting. I called my state legislature to lift. I never call my state legislature about anything, but the growler cap where like you couldn't take beers out or like of some of the top 5 because they sold too much. Minnesota had some weird laws on. But that being said, Allagash White plays into my number 5, the white stuff, because I loathed New Kids on the Block growing up to my friends, but everybody knows those songs were flippin' catchy. I remember all that stuff. Well, that was really elementary school years. So I think this parody was a couple years after the old NKOTB was big. I think 5th grade for me is kind of when they tailed off. I think my friends did have the Christmas tape, but this is one that I also happen. I mean, who doesn't love Oreos? So right. You check those by. I was thinking about trying to find like an Oreo themed stout, but it's not stout season anywhere really. No. And trying to find an Oreo beer this time of year when it was 100 degrees, I was like, no. So I think I did go in the right direction with the Allagash White. And as far as the song goes, okay, come on. You said you hate the New Kids. Everybody in that era, they sang along with the New Kids on the Block. They knew it. Whether you liked music or not, I remember it. And it's just such a great song. I mean, there's so many things you can quote about it. And I'm, of course, the one thing is all the quotes. I'm drawing a blank on the show about all the quotes all the lines I want to pull out. And I mean, you've got them, as they're in your DNA. I'm sitting there like, I don't want to screw it up on a Weird Al show. So I'm just like, rather not say anything and assume, what's that saying? Whatever. But
Assume positive intent.
Yes, that too. Assume, think positively. Or what is it? Better let people know you're not an idiot versus opening your mouth and removing all doubt or something like that.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. The white stuff. I mean, these 5 are 5 of my favorite songs. So this is one that I'll play upstairs randomly on the Lady in the Tube. I won't say it because there's one in this particular office. And then my wife will, catch it and she realizes it's a Weird Al song. So the white stuff just kind of sets the table. I've got the Allagash White, which is sitting on my table. So nothing about these top 5 disappoint me at all. They make me happy. They make me smile. I love Oreos. I like the other stuff that's coming up this way. So where do you have the white stuff sitting?
Yeah, okay. All right. We're going to continue our pattern, and I think this is probably going to be the end of us continuing our pattern because I have some that are very low that are still in your top 5, which just kind of speaks to how this goes. But as per our pattern, I have the white stuff at number 3.
I was going to say you could also have gone to 7 and it still would have been 2 off. I was kind of hoping you'd go the other way, but all right. The white stuff goes number 3.
Yep.
Now,
because I just get such a kick out of it. Like it really does crack me up. And I wasn't at the right age at the right time for the New Kids on the Block. I was more of your Backstreet Boy NSYNC time frame, even though I did not really have a horse in that race, but that's where I landed, time wise with boy bands anyway. So I just like this song because it's about Oreos. And I have a point that I absolutely need to make because the white stuff, he's establishing how much he loves the middle of the Oreo, correct? And if you turn back the clock from this album just a little bit to 1986's Polka Party, Don't Wear Those Shoes. There's something that she can do. The only thing he wants this woman not to do is to wear this particular pair of shoes. We don't know what these shoes look like, but he says, honey, please don't wear those shoes. But one of the things he says that she could do that would be not as bad as her wearing these shoes is eat the middles out of all my Oreos. And so he loves the white stuff. And he's like, no, but you can eat the middles out of all my Oreos. So how bad must those shoes be? I feel like these two songs have to be connected somehow.
Well, they're all connected. I mean, you've gone down these rabbit holes before. I mean, wormholes, if you will, because you're warping from one album to the next. And sadly, I actually could not get Don't Wear Those Shoes because I hadn't heard it in so long on the Daily Weirdle, which you again turned me on to. And my Twitter followers are getting really annoyed because it's Wordle, Hurdle, Weirdle, and then my New York Times mini crossword. So they get 5 of those within like 5 minutes a day. And sometimes I don't always post the Weirdles all the time because sometimes they fill up the timeline with a lot of extra stuff. But if I nail them on one, I mean, my stats are decent. I mean, you crush me on these for obviously, but sometimes there's some of these ones I'm like, it'll take me that full 8 seconds. You know what? I don't remember that first ding or two. I'm like, or there's 2 seconds of silence. But like, come on, this is
that one.
Come on, you can't do that to me.
That wasn't fair. I get it because that's just how the song starts. Like, as the one that came out, people are going to know the day that we're recording this. It was the day that it was alimony. And that.
Well, actually, I was actually going to look to see if I had done it today yet or not.
It's alimony, so you're going to get it today if you didn't. And
we have to do this live to see what that actually does sound like. Let's see. So continue your discussion as I bring this up.
Well, Weird Al's parody of Moni Moni is a parody of the live version of Moni Moni by Billy Idol. So Alimony actually starts with a little bit of silence into a crowd roar, and then into the "You can go now, sing Alimony."
Yeah, okay. I just played that first bit. I'm getting nothing.
And you don't hear anything. So I didn't get it on one today because you don't hear anything. But on the second one, I started hearing the roar of a crowd, and then I was like, "Oh, alimony."
Yeah, I don't got that one yet. So I'm playing this honest right now. So I've already skipped the first 2. Let's see how long it takes for me to actually get it. Ooh, that first 2 drum beats. I don't know if that would have done it. So I'm going to 4 now. Let's see if I can, because I know that song, obviously. Yeah, I'd have gotten it, but I'd have gotten it there. I'd have gotten it right at the beginning of because I go skip, 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 and then I would have gotten it. So honestly, I would have gotten it. I'll
That's
just
fair.
leave it blank.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to count it. I'm going to fill it in. Even
No,
though
because
you
you did play it honestly, and the people can hear that you did play it honestly. So,
So
and
submit.
if
I'm just going to check
gives him
my
a
stats
problem,
while
come
I'm
for me.
Yeah, bring the pain. Yeah, so my win rate's actually embarrassing for this show, so I'm going to shut up. So anyway, don't wear those shoes. I think hung me up one day. All right, so where were we at?
We're at your number 4.
Number 4, and this goes to my beer theme, Taco Grande. So part of this, why I love it so much, is how many of my family members and friends it nailed in terms of not knowing it was a Weird Al song. One of those things was another cousin was coming down to visit, and I'm playing it, and I think we're playing Nintendo, and it goes da 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 da, the intro, and she goes Rico, and it got her, and I'm like, yes. And so it hit so many of my friends and family that knew the Gerardo version. So to me, the Weird Al gotcha moment of a parody is this song. I think this is the one that's hit more people that I've known, because when you hear some of those songs, they sound just different enough to, okay, you're not going to get fooled. Or if you're kind of have it in the background, or like with, you might see the video start out and you might fool you a little bit. Like Weird Al did on talking about it on the Arsenio Hall show. I remember watching Weird Al on Arsenio Hall. I'll get more to that later, but Taco Grande, and I took Spanish in high school. I like Spanish food. I've got, I speak really bad Spanglish. I traveled through Latin America. I was in Acapulco a month ago. So, quiero chimichanga. I'm saying nonsense Spanish words and then be food things is something that's always been kind of my, I don't want to say my thing, because that really sounds really odd, but it's just something that I've kind of enjoyed getting a kick out of to myself, like singing this song randomly when I'm cooking something, or I'm making fajitas, or we order la casita, or we do something like that. I'm always singing this song. Even to this day, I'm 42 years old. I will sing Taco Grande every single time I go get Mexican food, and I don't host a Weird Al podcast. So that's something else there. So that's why Taco Grande holds such a special appeal to me, is it's zapped so many of my friends and family. Being gotcha, I'm listening to Weird Al, and 2, the words sound really cool rolling off the tongue.
Yeah, I will give you all of that completely. And, to the point that I made at the beginning, there are no bad Weird Al songs. So the fact that this is my number 11 on this album doesn't mean I don't like it.
Wow.
Okay? Because it was not too long ago, I was at a stoplight listening to Weird Al on shuffle, as one does, trying to figure out what I was going to make for dinner. And Taco Grande came on, and wouldn't you know it, I ended up making tacos because I was swayed by the song. And
you just got to have a tostada con asada. That's right. You want the whole enchilada. I've been waiting to do that all show.
So good. And I will tell you that, like, the rankings that I'm working off of, with very few exceptions, are rankings that I did with my brother Nir when we started this show. And one thing that we've said is that how you feel about the music is fluid and can change over time. So if I were to redo these rankings, some things would probably be in different spots than they are right now. But I'm like, I have to stick with how we kind of have this show set up. So I like Taco Grande. It just happens to be my 11.
I don't really have a response to that, because I was not expecting that one of all songs, knowing the back catalog and how you've done these. I just didn't expect that one to be that low. But hey, you know what? Your show, your opinion, again, you've given a. There are no wrong answers. This is not like your exams, right?
Right. It's all subjective. It's all our opinions.
That's my when I was your age, our opinions were okay. So bad dad jokes happen. This show is also natural for dad jokes, because I feel like, Weird Al has been a dad joke for like almost 40 years.
Yeah. So, we tell dad jokes all the time. They're more than welcome here.
Number 3, numero uno, sticking with the, and also makes me think that it takes me back to my days of like sounding like that tape you had, or the record in Spanish 1. Numero uno, Juan is going to the store. What just incorrect? Biblioteca, flan, aranjo, those type of things.
That's funny.
That I just think in Mr. Faye's freshman Spanish class when I was in high school.
Yeah, see, we're on your 3, right?
Yeah, we're on 3 is I can't watch this because all the television, the infomercials, MC Hammer, back to that summer, that discovery of music. When I lived in Newport News, MC Hammer was the thing. That was everything was, it was all the R&B hip hop from that era permeated every culture in my middle school. And the fact that I could karaoke, this is one of my karaoke jams. The problem is it really depends on how much I've had to drink, because there are words I still am unable. That's the one thing about some of these songs with anybody singing karaoke is I can't do certain words, because as fast as I can talk and as rapidly as I can talk, calling an NCAA wrestling championship or something like that, I still to this day will stumble over lyrics that are fast. So that last verse of, MC Hammer's Can't Touch This is, and I get, when I nail it, I'm like, yes. Or there's a part of Ice Ice Baby is also one of my go-to karaoke jams. Like, for example, I may have been the only person on the planet that sang Ice Ice Baby in Iowa City, Iowa, and Tashkent, Uzbekistan in the same calendar year.
Wow.
So yeah, I've sang karaoke in Uzbekistan. The bartender loved Ice Ice Baby. He's like, it has a karaoke bar. Side karaoke note real quick, because I know you're here for this.
Notes. Yes.
So I'm at the 2014 Wrestling World Championships, and they're in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Yes, that's an actual place. So where we're staying, the Hotel Asia Tashkent, next to it is Marilyn Monroe's karaoke bar. Now, all the Team USA training partners, so there's the wrestlers that are competing for Team USA on the world team. Well, then they bring athletes to work out with. They're called the training partners. Them and all the USA Wrestling staff are in this one hotel. We took up the whole place. Well, next door is the karaoke bar. So me and one of the training partners decided to sing Love Shack, and because that's one of probably the only duet that I do, because I can do that. If you say I faded, I got that guy down pretty good.
Fred Schneider, yeah,
I can nail Fred pretty well. That sounded really bad. He's not my type, but I nail Fred pretty good.
But sidebar to your sidebar, girls at karaoke often want to sing Love Shack and can't get a guy to do it. So I always do the guy part to Love Shack. So I Fred Schneider as well, because the whole shack shimmies when
everybody's swinging around and around and around and around. So shout out to my friend Julia Salata, who is one of the training partners, and her and she basically said, yes, me and Jason Bryant had the most fun you can possibly have in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, at a karaoke bar named after Marilyn Monroe. So I also sang Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy in front of another place, because karaoke bars are huge in Tashkent. I think they're just discovering it. And they had all these people had their cell phone cameras out recording the Americans singing. And I had the Greco-Roman team was backing me up on vocals and stuff, because YouTube is like banned there. So, them getting entertainment like us is just really strange. So that was another winner. But the Ice Ice Baby was one of those things. Back to the fast lyrics to get us back on track with I Can't Watch This. MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice, Young MC, all that cheesy rap, rock, hip hop from that era. And then, of course, my affinity for television all just kind of melds into this song. And it was weird. I had this thing there's this infomercial that faked itself like a real television show. It's called Amazing Discoveries. And it was on before we left for the bus. And it was always had the same guy. It wasn't Ron Popeil hawking this stuff. It was not Mr. Popeil, but it was another British guy that was hawking stuff. And I just remember everything must go, all of that, those cheeky things. And as a PA announcer and as a broadcaster, I throw those things into just random goofy stuff all the time. So, when like Amish Paradise plays, I'll reference the Amish rake fighting radio bit from back home and be like, today's game brought to you by Swenson Wagon Wheels, brought to you by, those stupid stuff. Then it'll be like, everything must go, I feel like that just really personifies 80s, 90s television is this song. And so it was, one of those things, all right, you don't have school on Saturday or Sunday. You stay up late Friday and Saturday as late as you can, probably watching stuff you shouldn't be if you've got cable, or watching, I watched Arsenio Hall because I could watch his monologue and have his guests, and those people over there, that was the Dog Pound. That was like my favorite stuff about Friday night. So MC Hammer, I Can't Watch This, You Can't Touch This. That really does, again, check that box, that summer music. That's a generational song to me, and this is generational parody to me.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, my brother was big into MC Hammer at the time. He had, I think he had a poster of MC Hammer on the wall in his bedroom, I think. But I Can't Watch This at number 9. And again, not because I don't like it, but because for me, Weird Al does this TV thing a lot. He listed TV shows in the Brady Bunch. He listed TV shows in this song. He lists TV shows in Syndicated Incorporated. This is a thing that Weird Al does often, and that's fine. I just having that category of Weird Al song in my head, I feel like Syndicated Incorporated does I Can't Watch This better than I Can't Watch This does.
Okay. I think that's fair. Now, I do have a question. So when you rank these, were you ranking them on the time you heard them? Because Syndicated Incorporated came out after this. Because Soul Asylum, which is oddly a North Dakota, Minnesota band, which very few, they're still huge here, by the way. I had tickets to Soul Asylum not that long ago, and I couldn't go because it got snowed out at First Avenue, the legendary music venue that individual who never let Weird Al cover him here in Minnesota, that may be akin to the color purple.
Yes, he's purple.
Yeah, yes, very purple. Probably purple right now. Was that too
God.
soon? Too soon?
It might be. I mean,
I'm not a native Minnesotan, so I think I can get away with insulting Prince.
Okay. Well, he did tell Weird Al not to look at him. So I'm like, I enjoy, I like Prince music as much as the next guy, and I like
living here has kind of given me a little bit more of an adaptation to it, but it's not high on my list. But so all right, we're down to the top 2, and on your list I see 1 and 7 left.
Yes, you
and
do.
There's only one. There's 2. Obviously we haven't touched on these 2 songs. So one of them we could match or we could not match the entire way. So my number 2 is Smells Like Nirvana.
Okay, that's my number 7.
Okay, so that means we know our number 1 is in sync. So number two is, again, its relevance in my world of music is actually probably bigger than number 1. Because I liked this version better than I heard it first. So I didn't, I heard, I think Come As You Are might've been the first Nirvana song I actually heard, again, from my cousin Christy. She had the singles. And then I heard the Weird Al video was on MTV all the time. Newsflash, MTV used to play videos, and they used to play Weird Al videos. So I had seen the video and I didn't know what Nirvana was. I just knew that the video was hilarious. And then at the surf shop here in town where I grew up, when I'd since moved to the little redneck town, which I love so much, they had that Kurt Cobain, the sweatshirt they were selling at like Largo Surf Shop. So that look, it wasn't a Baja, but it was that weird long sleeve kind of grungy, 3-day yogurt crumbs on your shirt kind of thing. And it really kind of that's what set me off to watching this. And then I heard Nirvana. I'm like, what up on cuz? I'm like, what is he? This is terrible. But then I go listen to that, and then I discover Lithium, which was my first favorite Nirvana song. And then I kind of opened the doors to Come As You Are. And then after listening to enough Weird Al and listening to him explain the mission behind the song, then I went into listening to Smells Like Teen Spirit with different ears. And then Nirvana became like my favorite rock band because of Weird Al Yankovic. So and I was big in Nirvana. I had tickets to see Nirvana in 9th grade. My stepdad would not let me go. That would have been November of 93, April 94. We know what happens. Mm-hmm. So I actually had a chance to go see them, and I was not. It was the Breeders and Half Japanese were opening up. If that's another throwback for those of you in the music era. But Smells Like Nirvana, and I was just, it really did start that journey to wanting to go to the mall and get those tapes. Every time my mom would send me $20 in the mail every 2 weeks to, hey, here, have some fun at the mall. And it was Smells Like Nirvana really opened the door to music. And again, I had known who Weird Al was, and I need to actually tell kind of that story to set some of the stuff up going ahead, because I know there's always an origin story here. But Smells Like Nirvana is just one of those things that when if it ever shows up on my shuffle, because I have my Weird Al shuffle list, but then I also have my regular playlist that has Weird Al mixed into it. Mm-hmm. So
as you do,
it's a never skip. And for years I've been looking for Naljaus, and every time I see marbles, I'm like, oh, these marbles in my mouth. Hello, it's just it is of parodies, it is the number one for me. It is the number one Weird Al parody in my life because of what it meant, not just to me in my Weird Al journey, but to my music journey. This, again, was the summer of music for me, and this was the song that opened so many doors to me being an absolute junkie about music. I mean, I remember that led me to joining Columbia House and BMG and use it with so many different family members. I went from like I got a CD player that Christmas. Sadly, my first two CDs were not Weird Al or Nirvana. They were the Spin Doctors and TLC. That was something my family messed that up because those were not what I asked for as the first CDs. And then I had a bunch of tapes already, but and then the tape trading in 8th grade. I got to throw Phillips Booker's name in here. He's one of my classmates, and we got into Weird Al that when I came back into that 8th grade year. We were copying and taping, and he had Polka Party, and I had the others, and we were trading. So nice. I told him I was going to give him a shout on this because he's a big part of that 8th grade dubs, and I was like, dude, you got to listen to Addicted to Spuds. So all of those albums after that, In 3D was the next one I bought. All of this comes from Smells Like Nirvana. So that is my number 2. It's my favorite parody that he's ever done. Now there are things that I think maybe might be better, but to me, this is the number 1 parody in my musical journey. And it's my number 2 on this album.
That was a beautiful story that you just told. I mean, you sold Smells Like Nirvana to somebody who has Smells Like Nirvana at number 7. And you sold Smells Like Nirvana to somebody who, when she goes to see Weird Al in concert and Smells Like Nirvana starts to happening, that's when she goes to the bathroom, because I've heard and seen that done live so many times. I was like,
how many shows are you up to now? I'm curious. How many times have you seen him live?
By the end of this year, it will be a dozen.
Solid.
Yep, it's solid.
I'll be at 2 at the end of July. I have seen a band called the Two Skinny Jays 25 times. That's a band that's Weird Al's never going to cover. They broke up about 10, 15 years ago. But yeah, so 12 Weird Al shows is kind of tough because that's an elusive ticket because they're never big venues and it's not really a prolific tour. And he hits places like theaters and things like in state fairs. So to me, to he's playing at Willett Hall in Portsmouth. I was like, I can't go to Portsmouth. I can go to the Hampton Coliseum, but he's not going to play the Hampton Coliseum because he doesn't play that type of venue. He plays theaters and stage shows and things like that. So 12, I am impressed, but I'm at 1. I'm at 1, and my first one was 3 years ago. So
yeah, well, you're gonna love what you see.
That was my birthday present. I think I just turned 40 in Disney that year, and I think I came back and seen Weird Al at the State Fair. So that was basically my 40th birthday present was Disney for my kids and Weird Al live.
That's beautiful. You can't beat it. But yeah, Smells Like Nirvana. Like I said, I have it where I have it because it's not a personal favorite of mine because grunge really isn't my thing. So I won't put Smells Like Nirvana on purpose, but I won't skip it because I recognize very similar, like the kind of thing that it did for you musically is it also is that important to Weird Al and his career because it was such a turning point. He stopped being the guy that, his big parodies up to that point really were primarily Michael Jackson parodies. Mm-hmm. And so this was the big thing that kind of changed it brought him to a new audience and it gave him a different trajectory. So I feel like even though it's not one of my favorite Weird Al songs, it's a very, very important Weird Al song. So I need to give it credit for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's again that album. I mean, just playing off the fact that it played off the Nevermind cover, it just
it's so funny.
I wonder what Weird Al's theory is on that kid trying to go back and saying it was like trying to get money out of it, and I don't know. I
don't know. Weird Al might have to sue himself.
Well, because now what's interesting is like you talk about not liking grunge. That grunge is what really opened the door for me to music. Is I wasn't a huge Pearl Jam fan initially either, and it took for me listening to Temple the Dog, the mashup with them in Soundgarden, to really to go back and realize that Pearl Jam's 10 is a pretty damn good album start to finish. So and starting right with the first track. So that's how I feel about Off the Deep End too. It is pretty much a near perfect album in a lot of ways, whether musically or just being a Weird Al fan. So that's where I sat with that. Number 1. So we have the same number 1.
Yes, we do.
You Don't Love Me Anymore.
That is correct.
One of the few Weird Al songs I've also karaoke'd. Hard to find a lot of places.
Oh, my guy has it. I've thought about it. I feel like it's too low for me some places.
Well, I feel like I don't I've always found that if I try to sing in the style of the singer, I sound terrible. This is why I had a short-lived era of trying to do Garth Brooks songs, Fred Durst style. A little bit more angry. I've got friends in low places,
Yeah.
So I tried to, I don't have musical range. I again, this is where I'll use my, the depth of my voice. I've started to do more of the announcer voice type of stuff when I'm singing. So it's more or less like, okay, I'm doing my own take on it versus trying to sing along, with the exception of Love Shack. But You Don't Love Me Anymore. Let's go back to this Connecticut trip. So I'm driving up to Connecticut with my younger cousin, who is my cousin Christy, was her younger brother Kevin, and my uncle Chuck. We're driving from Virginia to Connecticut. This is that summer. And we're driving through, I think we crossed the New York line into Connecticut. And this song comes on the radio. And we're sitting there listening to it, and I hear that time that you made it with the whole hockey team. And my uncle goes, man, this guy's really had it rough. And we just started giggling. And I mean, we're 12, Kevin's 11, I'm 12. And my uncle, he's just sitting there cracking up too. We're all laughing hysterically in the car. And I didn't know this was a Weird Al song at the time. I didn't know it was on the album at the time. So I hear this. And then when I finally get the tape and realize that's the track. And then I'm like, it just kind of like the whole summer became complete, because this is my style of hilarious. This is also, it's one reason why it might be a little bit, I might have kind of sold out. I was only kidding a little bit, but because it's just a perfect original song for me, because it's hilarious. It's inventive. It's borderline sadistical in a lot of, it's actually, there's nothing borderline about it. It's 100% sadistic.
It is.
But it also plays to your sixth sense of humor, but it's also like, man, this is pretty dark. And then let's go fast forward to Staying Up Late. I actually saw him perform this on that Arsenio Hall episode, because I remember staying up late Friday, and it's like, Weird Al Yankovic. It's like, oh, I never stayed up to watch the entire Arsenio Hall show. Well, he opened up the show with Smells Like Nirvana, and then he closed the show, because sometimes they didn't do two acts or two songs. He's up there and he's got his guitar and he starts singing it. He's about to play the guitar every time, but every verse he kicks the guitar away and starts singing. And it was just,
it's so funny.
You remember this?
Yes. Well, he does.
Man, I watched it live.
Yeah.
I watched it happen. I was just like, it was one of those things, like, I remember that episode, but this song. And then, I was thinking about the show today. I was like, you slam every time I go up and open up my grill, I'm like, you slam my face down on the barbecue grill. I just, the lyrics, like, hey, every time I take a sip of coffee in the morning, I'm like, and I look at my wife and I think about throwing that line out, but she's just not going to want to hear about her poisoning me just a little each day.
I think it's kind of cute though.
I like this. And so the other song that I really equate to this style of parody that to me that like is One More Minute, is like that
of
one.
Course. Yes.
Like, I love that song. When it comes to originals, this to me is number one. That one's number two. And it's a close number two, because that sixth sense of humor through this evil song. It was, and again, to discover this song before I discovered the album and then have that be like, like the Easter egg at the end of the tape was so much fun. And it's, again, I don't try to karaoke a whole lot of Weird Al, because it really doesn't. I tend to make a fool out of myself with regular songs. I don't need to try to have a funny song to make me try to be a little bit funnier. Because singing Chocolate Salty Balls all through college was enough to be insulting enough to be. Yeah, I get the big dude going. Yep. The key to that song. Yep. So You Don't Love Me Anymore is my number one for all of those reasons. It will never be, well, it's kind of hard to say never, because he's come out with some great stuff, but it is my number one song on this album. It is my number one Weird Al song. It is my number one parody. Original. So it is what makes that summer complete for me.
That's beautiful. Yeah. This, You Don't Love Me Anymore, it's great. And, we can't not talk about how brilliant the video is, being the parody of the Extreme video. Like, I think it's fantastic. And I will go right where you went with this. Every time I'm putting laundry away, my mind always goes to the line, now, if you don't mind me asking, what's this poisonous cobra doing in my underwear drawer? And the brilliant part about that is, It's not like, oh my God, what's this poisonous cobra doing in my underwear? It's, if you don't mind me asking, what's this poisonous cobra doing in my underwear drawer? And that's Weird Al in a nutshell for you right there. It's like, this is a thing that could kill you in your underwear drawer, but I'm going to be like real polite when I ask about it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, the general like nonchalantness of the absurdity of the situation. Just I love it. And that's a theme of some of just the craziness that he's done over the course of his career. And it's funny, as I was looking through the discography today, thinking, okay, what was my chronology of purchases? Well, this clearly was number one. I know you've had other guests on talking about their Weird Al journey, and I want to kind of tell that story real quick because videos were so big, and it was the Fat video that just happened to be. It was like, I think Headline News did a story about it, and they're like, "Hey, why?" And my mom and stepdad looked at it, as like, "Hey, watch this," and it was on. I'm like, and it was hilarious. It was the full video. It was like, "Man, you ain't fat." I'm just like,
you ain't nothing.
And I was like, "What is this?" And then later, I don't know the timeline of it, but my friend used to record Dr. Demento off of the radio. So he had some cassette tapes, and I don't know if there was much Weird Al on it, but I remember hearing Weird Al being always associated with Dr. Demento. So I could never actually find Dr. Demento on my radio dial, but I did have these tapes, one of which included the Beastie Boys Squirrels parody, which I heard Squirrels before I heard Girls. And then it was just weird. And then I heard Boot to the Head years before it kind of got, reborn in the early 2000s. So there's that Dr. Demento tie. And then, finding the tape of the first one with Another One Rides the Bus with the accordion. And so it was actually discovering Weird Al, not through YouTube or just, discovering it on MTV. It was probably in the 80s when Even Worse was out. And then it was kind of there. I've always been kind of a goofy individual. So every time I'd see it, I would always, I'd try to record it off with my double deck cassette tape. And so I'd have a couple of those things, but that was really the extent of my music, was some of that Dr. Demento goofy stuff. And then not listening to what my brother brought home, or he was trying to, then we moved into the Vanilla Ice, Young MC, as I was kind of alluded to. But I'm looking at my discography, but it was Off the Deep End that started everything for me. And then I think I went in 3D, Dare to Be Stupid, because I got them at like one of those off-brand department stores that are long out of business. I looked at it. The only album I didn't actually ever own was the UHF soundtrack. Okay. So I remember being mad that my parents wouldn't let me go see it in the movie theater, though. So I eventually rented it on VHS, and now I own it on, actually I don't own it on DVD anymore because it broke, because I took it out of the player one time and it had one of those ones that it snapped. So I actually have the digital version. My wife said she wanted to watch it after we went and saw Weird Al in August of 19, but I still have yet to get her to do that. I still got to remind her. But so that
Please
was kind of
immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the chronology of all that. And then going back to trading tapes, and, my cousin Christy, who I saw actually that time at Disney, we still talk about that summer and all the tapes. And I was joking with my wife at dinner before we recorded this, is that my stepdad was pretty, I don't want to say militant, but it was to the point where, like, certain things, like if I had a parental advisory sticker on any of my tapes or CDs, they were confiscated immediately. So I'd come back with these tapes that had like the titles of the songs would be changed. So it would be like, the Two Live Crew version, Me So Horny, would just be Miso, so I wouldn't put the actual titles on there just so I could still listen to them. Or, they're bad words on any of these? Nope. They're all been checked out. Chrissy doesn't listen to that stuff. So,
that's great.
Yep. Yeah. High School Senior doesn't listen to that stuff. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Sure.
Again, so much of my music. I mean, I look around and I've got albums on the wall. Like the first tape I ever owned, there was when you're a kid, you listen to what your parents do. Well, Weird Al's the first tape that I felt like was my own personal journey. The first tape I owned for any other reason was Huey Lewis and the News Sports. So I have that LP on my wall. I have the Vision Quest soundtrack on my wall because that's, the wrestling movie with Matthew Modine and stuff. But there's not as much Weird Al in here as there should be, but his musical presence, his just influence on, I don't want to say his influence on me, like as a career, as a person. I don't want to overstate that, but there's been a lot of Weird Al references throughout the course of my life. And I'll even slide them in there I'm announcing NCAA wrestling championships. There'll be, inside jokes or side jokes or lyrics that will slide their way in there.
Uh-huh.
I got into Letterkenny during I got COVID back in January, and I was binging Letterkenny. And so at some point I'm like, ooh, I can slide some of these words into my commentary. I can confirm, just little things like that. I'll find ways to just put pop culture references into the rough and tumble world of college and Olympic level wrestling. And Weird Al has not been a stranger to that type of stuff. So that's why I was so eager to be on the show, is because I love talking about this stuff. I love geeking about this stuff, because it really is. I'm not exaggerating. So much of my musical journey was because of Weird Al Yankovic and Smells Like Nirvana.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really glad we did this, because again, a lot of the people that I have here are, they talk about pop culture and music and Weird Al all the time. And so it was very refreshing to have somebody who doesn't get the chance to talk about Weird Al like this all the time on to do it. And I felt the appreciation, and I was like, nope, he's one of us. Yeah, he's definitely one of us.
I'm glad to be. I'm happy that, again, trying to fight to decide what I was, because at some point, there's even with a band or any type of show that you're dying to see, there's still a price point. You're like, and sometimes, Weird Al tickets are not always cheap. And, it's like, all right, well, this is one that I'm like, I am not missing this. After the last one, if he comes around again, I'm going to make sure, because it's, we haven't seen him since before COVID. So, and just, I'm always curious on, what the stage shows are. Cause my experience is not, I have a state fair experience. So I have a stage and I have the orchestra, but I don't know what the real experience is. I don't know what it's like in a theater with him. So I'm really looking forward to the end of July, when I get to actually see it in an indoor facility, kind of in his element, versus, outdoors. Okay, we got to be done by 9 kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, because you are seeing the unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised vanity tour. It's going to be 5 guys sitting on stools playing deep cut Weird Al songs.
That's what I'm in for.
That's what you're in for. But yeah, so we made it all the way through off the deep end. This has been wonderful. I finished my beer, so.
Well, I'm almost done with my second one. So, like I said, I was doing most of the talking here, so that's probably why. Actually, usually it's not a problem, because of, if you looked at me at Untapped and whatnot, which is at Jason M. Bryant, in case you're wondering. Actually, is that Avianet or is it Jason Bryant 12? I don't even know. I'm just gonna, for anybody that wants to follow me, I'm throwing that little plug out there.
I never even remember what mine is until people find me.
I know I had to DM you. What is it? Just so I could add the host. It's weird, because I was like adding the host of my Weird Al show to Untapped before I actually ever talked to them.
Yeah.
So
I know. I don't care.
That's not like creepy stalkers. Yeah. So Jason Bryant 12. So Bryant and the number 12. That's where you can find me on Untapped, because I'm at currently 1,650 check-ins, 1,351 beers. Not too bad.
That's not too bad at all. Not too shabby.
No. And then, whenever I found some weird beer and I see that, yes, Weird Al's tried it out. So that's,
of course I have. Yeah.
But yeah, this has been on my list. Last time we were supposed to record, it was my daughter's birthday, and we were trying to make it work. And I'm just like, we had just got back from New York, and it was,
oh no, it's all good.
Yeah. So I'm really glad we had the time to work this out. So.
Glad we got it done.
This is a more special show than it would have been. But yeah, so I want to say this as a listener, as somebody who discovered the show late. I love the show. It's weird though, hearing the actual intro at real speed, because I typically listen at 1.5, 1.3 on Overcast. So hearing the children say things at their actual speaking volume is a little weird. And then some of the themes is always a little weird too, but hey,
I can imagine
enjoy every second of it. I could do this I want to do another album. No,
I know. Well, you're welcome back on whenever you want, because I'm going to finish up these ranking things. And if there's anything other, I want to do something. I'm going to throw this out there to you now. I want to do something when the unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised vanity tour wraps up. I do kind of want to do a recap episode with people that have seen it at different venues, to just kind of get like maybe 10, 15 minutes like on folks' experience, and try and put something together for that. So if you're going to see it and you want to just have a quick chat about it, absolutely.
Actually, I realized that we're recording with a video, but we are not distributing the podcast with the video. I was giving a thumbs up.
He did give me a thumbs up.
Oh,
so
I have one side note that I almost forgot to mention. Actually, I was going to look at, where was my note that I wanted to say? A couple Weird Al references in my life, and this is, I'm not exaggerating. So when my wife and I started dating back in 2009, I made this mix CD, because people do that, right? It was mixtapes back in the day. It was this mix CD of songs that kind of defined who I am as a person, and it was a very eclectic mix. I mean, you had stuff with you had some old weird Bare Naked Lady stuff. You had Two Skinny Jays. Then you had some Social Distortion. Then you had Bad Religion. Then you had Brother Ali, who is a rapper from up here. But the very last song on that tape was White and Nerdy, or that CD was White and Nerdy. Nice. And I said, this pretty much sums up who I am. So I have to check that box off. Now, going back to living in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, I announced, one of the things I've obviously done a bunch of different sports in my life. Well, there was a roller derby team called the Dutchland Rollers, and they had the Amish theme, and I had to get up, and my derby name, which was registered, was Horace in Buggy. Now, that was a point where I would play. I also had the chance to play some music, and I would play Amish Paradise at some point during all of the games. And then I used Weird Al's that there's an image of him and Coolio. With the hair the way that, and then Coolio's looking at him weird, that I actually used on our college radio website at WODU when I was at Old Dominion University in Virginia as an undergrad, as the sports director there. We put the Weird Al, that picture up on the website. It's like, now for something completely different, here's one of Al. And people are like, what? I was like, dude, we put Weird Al on everything here. And I think, what was the last one? Oh, yes. Okay. So my freshman year in high school, we have speech class. So this is for public speaking, forensics and such. Well, the first assignment of the year was lip sync, and I used Lenny Kravitz's Are You Gonna Go My Way? Now, the end of the first semester, you could have picked any previous project to do. I chose lip sync, and I chose Jurassic Park. And
Awesome.
That was the song, and it was one of these little classes that had like 5 or 6 rows, and it was kind of a stage, so you're speaking. So it's like a mini little theater, and I'm down the wall. And at one point I am running around the classroom, and turning off the lights, and and so Weird, I aced it. So Weird Al might have gotten me a wife, definitely got me an A on that exam, definitely got me noticed in the roller derby world. So there's some other things, like I said, this is not just me being some random, like, oh, I like this album, but there's a lot of Weird Al in my life. So
I love it.
Wanted to make sure that your community knew that there's levels to this. Like, my wife got White and Nerdy from me before she realized how white and nerdy I really was.
That's great. And I will tell you, you said that your community. And just so you know, all this Weird Al stuff that you just dumped on me, this is your community too. You are one of us. And I think that's a really great note to end this on, because you have been accepted into the Weird Al brother / sisterhood / personhood that we are here. So anyway, Jason, thank you so much again for being here. This has been wonderful. And I'm going to put a pin in this episode, okay?
Yeah, and if anybody's around Minnesota and wants to see the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota and wants a cold beer, you know where to find me.
That's true, because you may just be so overwhelmed by its sheer immensity.
I had to pop myself a beer.
And I think with that, I'm going to end this episode of the Beard Al Podcast. We're going to come at you again next time with something fun, I'm sure. I don't think I've recorded it yet, but it's going to be awesome. All right, bye, everybody.
Sorry, we got a 1. We got a pencil again.